Hi, Mike Urness here. Welcome back to Module 6's video recap. And in Module 6, it was all about telling, all about sharing information in a way that came across as supportive and helpful, not preaching or degrading. And we used a very specific technique for sharing three core types of information. One of them is blind spots. Blind spots meaning we feel we've got data points, information that the people that we're talking to don't. They're either not seeing, not appreciating, and we want to throw that into the fray of the conversation. And we do that in a way that we first put it out there and start from a point of agreement on something that we can all agree on. Then we build with our facts and our information that we feel is relevant and that kind of demonstrates our point. And then we go to that all-important compare, where we're going to be asking them if they see it the same way, or if there's something that doesn't quite make sense. And we do this in a way that we are still maintaining that level of trust and rapport, so they'll actually be honest with us. Because so often that we have conversations where we just push information and people will nod because it's the easiest thing to do. They'll just kind of act like they're agreeing and they'll just keep going through the conversation. They're not going to raise their hand and say, I object, I don't agree, most of the time. And so we want to make sure that we are able to ask questions that actually get answered in that area of testing. And make sure that they do see that, they do appreciate that information, and it does change something in them, or it doesn't, and we need more dialogue, because whatever we just presented didn't help us get to where we're trying to go in the conversation. So presenting blind spots is really important, and all we've got to do to be able to present very tough, very emotional information is to take those three steps. I think the Crucial Conversations was the one that made this, that strategy most prevalent or most visible of that ABC, where we first find something saying, we're obviously kind of going in the same direction, so here's what we agree with. Then we add our data points as to why we think or why we see it a certain way. And then we authentically and empathetically ask to test that. To test our insights and see if people see it differently or if they have other things they want to share. And if we do that effectively, and we do that from a point of really wanting to have a dialogue and not from a point of just trying to beat on people orally, we have a real opportunity to increase the knowledge pool. To make that dynamic and the level of and the quality decisions that are being made and the behaviors that are being kind of utilized, it will go up because people's level of knowledge is going up. Whereas we can put the same information into a dialogue, but if we don't do it in a way that is going to be open for them to hear and listen, it just is hit with resistance and it doesn't resonate. We can go all the way back to the lion phase and we can talk about how the limbic system processes information. And when it gets nervous and when it feels like it's not being respected and taken into consideration, it kind of shuts down any higher level thought. And it works within its very archaic, very simple brain, which does not have high quality contemplative thought as part of it. So we want to make sure that we're sharing information in a way that really does feel good, but it's also going to give you the confidence to share more information. To share information because you're not going to be feeling like you're getting pushback, or you're not going to be feeling like you're being seen as a complainer or a contrarian, but you're actually there to support the group and help the group and move past whatever the disconnect is. So again, that's a crucial strategy, really important that we work on that, and that is a missing link in business today. We don't speak up when we should, which is a major problem. And when we do, we don't do it in a way that makes people feel like we're really there to help them and work on a solution. It comes across most often as being preachy, as us just trying to tell people what to do. So those are some strategies that we discussed. And when we look at the homework, one of the key pieces of homework here is to think about the blind spots that you deal with all the time. where their typical reaction is, God, they're stupid. Or if they just knew this, life would be so much easier. There are these things that kind of drive you a little bit crazy about what people don't know, they don't understand. And if they just understood this, that would make everybody's life so much easier. Those are going to be blind spots. And those you can identify, and you can work on your facts, and you can work on how you explain these things, and you can make it easier for people to hear and understand you. This is really important, and it's our obligation. If we're trying to get this conversation to a certain point, even if it's for the better of everybody, it's our obligation, because we're aware of this information, we're aware of how human beings communicate now. We need to make sure that we can deliver this information in a way that's really received well by that funky neurological system in other people's bodies called the limbic system. So, identify your blind spots. Work on sharing those blind spots. Work on the words that seem to work. And oftentimes, inevitably, you're going to find that maybe some of your data points weren't quite as clear as you kind of felt, or when you slow down and say it out loud, maybe it doesn't sound quite as eloquent, as you do when you kind of rattle it through your mind. So think about those things. Get some other bits and pieces of homework. Obviously, you want to take the reassessment for your CQ factor knowledge assessment, and then we have the other assessment there, which is identical to the knowledge assessment in terms of areas that it's looking at, but it's the utilization assessment. And so it's all about how often are we doing now what we know we should do versus how clear are we on what we should do. So what we should do, clarity on that, is the knowledge assessment. How often we're utilizing that is in the utilization assessment. Again, very similar types of questions in terms of there are 24 of them focused in the same skills and disciplines, but it's all about doing versus knowing what to do. Check those out, complete those, and I'm really anxious to get feedback from you on what's changed in your level of clarity on your knowledge side and the knowledge assessment side, and then how are you doing on the utilization side? Because as we step into Module 7, it's all about shifting from getting you up the curve and giving you some clarity on how you should be behaving, some of your disciplines you should be working on, some of the skill sets that you should have. And we want to, by this point in the program, to have had some wins, to have some success in going, wow, if I ask these types of questions, or if I manage a conversation kind of in these steps, it is a different type of conversation. My people react to me differently. I get more information. I have a better exchange. People hear me more. We get to better and clearer conclusions. All those things we want you to be experiencing now, day in and day out. The tricky part is this is new. These are new concepts that you've been working on now for a couple weeks. And in order for this to become masterful, in order for you to really get this to be second nature, so this is who you are and just kind of oozes out of you on a day-to-day basis, that's where we get into Module 7. And we call it tinkering versus mastery. And it's what do you need to do longer term to really turn this thing into, again, just part of who you are as a human being. So, great job getting to this point. Work on your assessments, be brutally honest, and I'd love to see what feedback you have from those things. And we'll look forward to Module 7 when we kind of switch the focus from learning to mastery. Thanks so much.